Hello, Packers Nation, wherever you may be. I have an immediate alert to protect all of your social media because apparently there is a rampage of hacks specifically for Rashan Gary. Um, you know, just breaking news. We got to make sure everybody has their passwords in order. Make sure you've got those triple strength passwords because there is hacking going on around the Green Bay Packers locker room. Now, I'm joking, of course, but I wanted to jump on and talk about the fact that Rashan Gary released or was allegedly hacked, and his Instagram account released a faulty or a fake goodbye to the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to go ahead and show you the post that was then deleted once Rashan Gary reacquired the control of his social media accounts, and talk about what this really means, because I don't believe for a second that Rashan Gary was hacked. I think this was a intentional act by Rashan Gary as an attempt to leverage the Green Bay Packers to release him before the start of free agency. So let's take a look at this account from this release that came from Rashan Gary's Instagram account. Hold on, let me pull that up. All right, here we go. Here is the Instagram release. As you can see, this looks like so many goodbye releases we've seen on Instagram over the years. It's highly stylized. It's got a great picture of Rashan Gary. And it's got a great message about how when he got the call in 2019, he was so happy to represent the Green Bay Packers, yada, yada, yada. He wants to thank everyone who supported him and his family throughout the years. And then it says, on to the next stop, nowhere near done yet. And it has his height and weight, 6'5", 275. By the way, 6'5", 275, Rashan Gary, please don't come and kill me after I do this video, because you are one big dude. No question about it. But let's talk about what this release means, okay? I don't believe for a second that this was a hack on Instagram of Rashan Gary's account, because let's go through the time frames, okay? This was posted on Instagram and other social media for Rashan Gary. It was then deleted in a very short period of time. I think it was within 30 minutes. And then Rashan Gary posted that he was hacked. Word got out that he was hacked throughout the press. So this is a very interesting dynamic. Anybody who's had an account hacked knows that it's almost impossible to get back control of your social media that quickly. You would have to reach out to Instagram in this case and say, hey, Instagram, I've been hacked. Then Instagram would have to go through a series of confirmations to make sure that you are actually Rashan Gary, right? They're not just going to say, oh, okay, here's your account back. You usually have to go through some verifications. You have to go through some codes, some passwords. In many cases, when you do think when you're hacked, many of these social media services will say, okay, we're going to take 24 hours or 48 hours to make sure that you were hacked, figure it out, and then give you access back. It's never an instant thing. So I think Rashan Gary posted this in an intentional move to push the Green Bay Packers to release him. I don't know that for a fact. This is my assumptions. Again, Rashan Gary, hopefully you don't know my address and you come kick my ass, because you are one big, massive dude. But I do believe what happened here, and this is total supposition and theory on my part, not backed by any evidence whatsoever, but I feel like the Green Bay Packers went to Rashan Gary and asked him to restructure to a more team-friendly deal. Rashan Gary was not amenable to this, but at the same time, the Green Bay Packers have all the leverage, because the Green Bay Packers could say, we want you to renegotiate your contract, or we're just going to hold on to you until after free agency, and nobody's going to have any money, and you're going to get a lot less money than what we're putting on the table. I talked earlier today in a previous video that I think if I was the Packers, I would go to Rashan Gary and say, hey, let's do 2 years, $25 million, $10 million guaranteed on a new restructured contract, because that would spread out his cap cost over a couple of years and get him a lot closer to what his actual value is on the field. Rashan Gary is not worth $28 million for 1 year. He is worth probably $8 to $10 million per year on a 2-year basis. So I do suspect, that the Packers went to Rashan Gary. They asked him to renegotiate. He decided he didn't want to do that. And he and his representatives are concerned that the Packers will simply just hold on to him after the start of free agency. So, by releasing this accidental hack statement, I think Rashan Gary is putting the pressure on the Green Bay Packers to release him before the start of free agency. And I think this is twofold. It burns the bridge between Rashan Gary and the Packers, which puts a lot of pressure on Brian Gutekunst to just proceed with the release. In addition, it puts a lot of pressure on the Packers, right or wrong, to make a decision. Because the Packers fan base is either going to come out and say, great, I hope he gets cut. Or they're going to say, no, I think he should stay. But I think what Rashan Gary wants to do is force himself into free agency to give him the best opportunity to make as much money as possible and decide where he is going to go. So again, I think the Packers went to Rashan Gary. They offered him a revised contract. Rashan Gary is not happy with that contract, and he doesn't want to be sitting on the Packers roster while the rest of the league is spending all of their free agent money. So that is my thoughts on what's going on with Rashan Gary and this quote-unquote hack. I think Rashan Gary had his people reach out to the press, get the word out that this was a hack and not an intentional posting. But if you look at the posting, and let's take a look at the posting again. Let's go ahead and do that. Right, so let's look at this posting. This posting just reads like a goodbye to the Packers. There's lots of good things here. There's lots of positive things. So either a hacker decided to do something nice for Rashan Gary, or this was maybe released early by his people in error, and they're calling it a hack. But more likely, I think he is putting himself in the best position that he can to get into free agency before free agency starts next week. There's the third highly unlikely option that he's hoping maybe another team will try to make a trade for him. But the reality is his current contract is pretty much untradeable. So I just wanted to drop a quick video here with this late breaking news and warn everybody to double check your passwords on your social media because hacking is happening rampantly. But don't worry, because as soon as you get hacked, you'll be able to immediately get access back to your social media and delete the whatever was posted. So don't worry. So hopefully you can understand I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here. And I totally understand both perspectives here. I do think, as I stated in an earlier video today, that the Packers should restructure Rashan Gary's contract. And I understand Rashan Gary's perspective of not wanting to be on the Packers roster only to be released in June or later after nobody has any free agent money to spend. So I do fully expect probably Saturday morning or maybe Sunday morning that Rashan Gary will probably be released by the Green Bay Packers in time for free agency. Because if the Packers wanted to renegotiate, I think that ship has sailed by Rashan Gary's reaction, if that's what happened. Number two, I think their chances of getting a trade for Rashan Gary are pretty much impossible right now. And number three, his salary cap number is untenable for the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers can probably get 2 or 3, maybe even 4 possible starters for that $28 million contract for a player that has not sniffed a sack for close to 6 months at the end of the regular season. It was pretty bad at the end of the regular season. Rashan Gary was not even getting close to getting sacks. And that's just a sign that Rashan Gary has gone from being a premier pass rusher, maybe premier was even a stretch, above average pass rusher, to a guy that's a liability as a pass rusher. So I think the days for Rashan Gary are now officially numbered. And if the Packers wanted to either renegotiate or trade Rashan Gary, the time has passed with this hacking. And now they need to simply release Rashan Gary and let Rashan Gary be free. I'm not opposed to that fan as a player, as a fan who has rooted for Rashan Gary for many years. I do think it is better off for all parties for the Green Bay Packers to simply release Rashan Gary, especially after this hacking incident. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to have our last post-combine pre-free agency mock draft, and we'll be doing that for you tomorrow morning. Talk to you then. As always, go Pack Go.